My friends, it just keeps happening. Yes, believe it or not, truly remarkable things continue to be discovered in Nintendo 64 video games from the 90s. Toad's Turnpike is absolutely broken. I mean, broken beyond any recognition. It's not every day when a new Mario Kart 64 shortcut is discovered, a full minute cut from the 3-lap record. So let's just shroom into it. Here we go.
Here we go.
August 5th, 2020 began at the stroke of midnight, a day like any other. The world records on Toad's Turnpike shortcut were the same as they had been, a 34.64 fast lap set in January 2019 by Danny Burbank, and a 1:49 3-lap to match, which he set in June of this year. However, by day's end, these records would be lowered 15 and 16 times respectively, down to a 5-second fast lap and 39-second 3-lap. The 3-lap time is nearly as fast as the previous 1-lap time. But how did this happen, and why? Well, in truth, the day didn't start quite like any other. A storm had been brewing for a couple days leading up to August 5th, and in order to really understand it all, we have to go back. Mario Kart 64 shortcuts, old as time itself. Even the most casual gamer has almost definitely played Mario Kart 64 and probably knows of the Rainbow Road shortcut or Wario Stadium. And maybe if you're a little more advanced, you know of the Frappe Snowland or DK's Jungle Parkway shortcuts. The majority of Mario Kart 64 tracks have shortcuts, and many of them are like these too. You cross the finish line while heading out of bounds, and then once you're placed back in bounds, the game believes you crossed the line, yet places you back at a checkpoint near where you left the course, thus advancing you an entire lap. And most of these have been known about dating back to the 90s. The Mario Kart World Records history page shows 3-lap records using this shortcut even back in 1997. And way back in the day, most of the shortcuts in use today had been pretty well discovered. Yeah, there were still some improvements or optimizations, but in general, the vast majority of the shortcuts known about by around the year 2000 are the ones known about today. At least this is true in time trials mode. As the Twitch era rolled around and nascent speedrun viewers were confused by single-level time trial attempts, some Mario Kart players began doing full-game real-time attack runs. All cups, for example. This led to new shortcuts being discovered and developed, since playing in cup format gave access to shells, stars, 7 other racers, and other tomfoolery, which could be used to save time. A good example might be this shortcut on Rainbow Road. You can't shroom over the barrier at this point on the course, but with shells you can knock yourself over, fall beyond the finish line, and just like on Frappe Snowland or DK Parkway, you get put back behind the finish line, skipping the lap. Alright, so jump ahead to August 2020. A speedrunning mad scientist by the name of Forest64 appears and begins posting short videos of, well, new shortcuts, useful in all cups modes of Mario Kart 64. This one on Royal Raceway is really cool. Using red shells to knock yourself onto this out-of-bounds wall gives you the Lakitu placement behind the finish line and a lap skip. It's not intuitive because you're a far ways away from the finish line, so you wouldn't expect to be placed back all the way behind the line, which explains why no one had discovered it before now. But it works, and it's faster than the more conventional Royal Raceway shortcuts used over the past 20 years. But of course this can't be used in time trials since you have no shells. On August 4th, Forrest posted this clip on Toad's Turnpike using similar techniques. Shells, out of bounds, and Lakitu placement checkpoints to get a lap skip. However, once this was shared, light bulbs began going off, particularly in the head of Drew Weatherton, the preeminent TASer of the game, and half namesake of the famous Weathertenko Choco Mountain skip. Weatherton saw what he believed was a way to make the Toad's Turnpike skip work without shells. And in order to understand just what he saw, we have to take a look at the previous Toad's Turnpike shortcut, the one that had been used for the previous 20 or so years. So Toad's Turnpike is this big looping track, with one section driving over the other like a bridge. You can't jump from this point to the next because this guardrail is in the way. Or can you? You see, if you jump into the fence surrounding the entirety of the course, sometimes you'll bounce off, but sometimes you'll get stuck in it. If you get stuck in it and replaced on the track by Lakitu, there's a brief moment where you won't get stuck in it again. During this time, you can actually jump over the fence and onto the lower section of track, thus skipping about half a lap. Once you drive this part of the lap out and cross the finish line, if you now get stuck in the fence around the same area, the game will remember an unseen checkpoint as the last place you re-entered the track after having left it. That being when you flew over the rail and landed back on the lower section. So now on laps 2 and 3, when you get stuck in the fence, Lakitu will simply place you on the lower section of the track, as if this was supposed to be intended. Thanks, Lakitu! So that's a bit about how the checkpoints and Lakitu placements work on Toad's Turnpike. Now it should be pointed out that if you just try to get smart and jump into the fence, get placed behind the finish line, Frappy Snowland style, that just doesn't work. You get placed in front of the line, unlike what happens on Frapp Snowland or DK Parkway. This shows how important it is to clear the fence with a jump onto the lower track, which shifts the game's checkpoint for your respawn to that lower section of track. So now, looking again at Forest64's clip, here's what was noticed. When he uses shells to flip himself over this section of track, this is when the game understands that we've left and then re-entered the course, and thus this becomes Lakitu's checkpoint as to where to place you when you return in bounds. You can see Forest does just that by then turning around and jumping into the fence, from which point Lakitu places him just a little bit behind the line. This activates the lap skip, and alas, just over the finish line, we repeat jumping into the fence. Bingo bango, you've basically skipped the whole course. So that was the key. That red shell flip to briefly bump him over an out-of-bounds section of track, thus re-entering the track at this point, and hence setting Lakitu's checkpoint to place you in this area, should you leave the track nearby. Very quickly, just after the stroke of midnight, ringing in a new day, August 5th, a day that will forever echo throughout the halls of Mario Kart history, Weatherton, Forest himself, and later Abney all realized that there might be a way to do this without shells, and thus it would be possible in time trials. By getting stuck in the fence, and then doing a cute little A-B spin back and forth, touching the grass and jumping back onto the track, something again only possible because of how you won't get stuck in the fence immediately after being replaced on the track by Lakitu, this little grass tap jump resets Lakitu's checkpoint position so that now you can cross the finish line, get stuck in the fence, and Lakitu will place you behind the line, which will trigger a lap skip. Truly remarkable. So from there, it was game on. The kind of new strategy discovered game on that comes only once every half decade or more. The kind that has grown men calling off work the next day so they can stay up all night grinding Nintendo 64 records. I mean, this is what life is all about. Why the heck not? Sometime around midnight, playing off stream, Weatherton scored a 14-second run on the first ever successful lap with this shortcut performed. Around 12:07 AM, he let it be known in the Mario Kart Discord that he had achieved a 5.86 fast lap, a good improvement to his 14-second score. Incredibly, these were Weatherton's first Mario Kart 64 world records, despite him being the consummate TASer and strategist for the game, so pretty remarkable stuff. But of course, these records wouldn't last long.
Did you use a mushroom too?
I did on the 586.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did on the. I don't even want to watch the 14 back, honestly. I guess it's for posterity. It was the first hit, so maybe I should share that. But I'm tempted not to.
gotta have it for the history. All right, here we go. I went kind of far. Oh my god, I messed up the shroom. 582. Oh, I 0.04. All right, I slammed into the wall pretty hard.
Hey, now you're just being critical of my run.
Yep. Yeah, who's awake for their chance at a world record, dude? Like, this is gonna get optimized somewhat quick. I guess the 3-lap people will have time on for a little while, for sure. 598. Oh man, nice. All right, here we go. Fresh new world record coming in. Here we go. 574. The meme time. We did it for Yoshi Valley. 574 confirmed possible. Oh my god, here we go. 62! Let's go!
Over the next 24 hours, the record will be inched down to 550, and attention will be turned to the 3-lap record. You can see in the earlier fast lap records, karters would spend several minutes on lap 2 setting up the trick, trying to make it work, before hitting it on lap 3. But for the 3-lap record, you'd have to just try to get the trick as quickly as possible on lap 1, then play out the rest of the laps. Smurfy was the first to set a record this way, nailing a 123.16. But of course, the mad rush would continue, with Abney lowering the record 9 times himself before going to sleep, and others surpassing those records too. All in all, the 3-lap record was lowered or tied 16 times that day, and the fast lap record 15 times, down to 39.58 and 5.50. Just an amazing, incredible day in Mario Kart history. And as rare as new shortcut discoveries are, who knows, this might be the last day like this for another 10 or 20 years, with everyone just madly rushing to the game, trying to get their share of a record, no matter how fleeting it might be, and no matter how quickly someone else might beat it.
Yes! New world record, untied. Yes!
But the story does continue. It was figured about a day later, amidst all the chaos, that the Japanese 1.0 cartridge worked a little bit differently. If, instead of doing the cute little AB spin onto the grass and back, you instead land in the out-of-bounds water just beyond the finish line, and then do an AB spin in such a way that you jump into the rail on the same frame you cross the finish line, you'll have Lakitu place you on the finish line. Once this was fully sorted out by August 8th, this led to fast laps being performed in the 4.3 range of seconds. In fact, we got all the way down to 4.29 this way by Danger Mall and Danny Burbank. Weatherton writes in his 4.30 TIS that 4.27 might be the theoretical max with this strategy. And so I thought this brings us to an interesting point in Mario Kart 64. While 4.27 hasn't been done yet, and is probably super hard, the closer we get to a theoretical max time, we can often see more and more people begin to tie the time. Right now, the most tied record in Mario Kart 64 is the Yoshi Valley 3-lap shortcut, a 4-way tie. If Toad's Turnpike 4.27 would be the true max, and no new strategy is developed beyond that, could we eventually see multiple people with the record? A few dozen? Perhaps a Dam 53-like scenario where we eventually have 100 or more people with a share of the world record on Toad's Turnpike Shortcut Fast Lap? Well, who knows? I suppose time will tell. The 3-lap situation evolved as well with the Japanese 1.0 cartridge. Weatherton revealed this wild strategy to get a time of 30.45, adding to his pile of records achieved betwixt the madness. It took Abney a few hours to get this new strat down, but eventually he would nail this run.
You can just cover it though, I guess, which I think is what some of that house has done. Maybe.
I believe.
Beautiful. Oh, count it. Count it.
Here we go.
Yeah!
Nice.
29:36. Go.
Vage would eventually take this even a step lower with 27.38, a truly remarkable run, but even he writes that this can go lower. And with that, the Toad's Turnpike Shortcut 3-lap time fell an entire minute over the course of merely 4 days. Something truly shocking that no one would have been expecting only a week prior. Without Forest64 coming along, sharing these wild lap skips using shells and the consequences that would follow, it's really crazy to think how different speedrunning history might be if only one thing went differently, or one person did or didn't show up at the right time. Forest is a new person with some surrounding mystique, yet these lap skips inspired and led directly to the development of a time that will always be remembered for these Mario Kart players. Someone who inspires and motivates so many people towards greatness is someone to be celebrated, and that's truly beautiful. So hats off to Forest64 and Weatherton for his refinements, and all the Mario Karters who participated in this mad dash towards Toad's Turnpike world records. It was amazing to watch, and I'm glad to have been lucky enough to even be a mere spectator. Oh, but if you thought the story ended there, well, you were wrong. So even more insanely, and this works on the NTSC and PAL versions of the game, is this ridiculous little trick. If you A-B spin so the arc touches the finish line, crossing the line to initiate a new lap, but then continuing to spin back over, and jump into the fence, clipping in slightly without getting stuck, hitting a very particular group of pixels, it can trick the game into thinking you're somewhere else on the lap. Then you bonk down behind the line, the game thinks you've made it all the way around the lap, and boom, a 1-second lap. 1.1s have since been done on console, with 0.40 done on TAS, and, well, then even a slightly newer technique with 0.24 or 7 frames done on TAS. So yeah, it's safe to say Toad's Turnpike is completely broken at this point. It's hard to imagine this is anything but the final form of Toad's Turnpike, but still, who knows what's coming next. It's always amazing to think that all this stuff discovered would have been doable on day one of the game's release. The cartridge hasn't changed at all. It's the same cart people opened up on Christmas Day in 1996, and to think you could have got a 1-second Toad's Turnpike lap all the way back then is just crazy. The game has like this mystery awaiting discovery. All these speed games are just waiting to be explored and optimized like this, and it really just is something to think about. I'm just going to leave it there. If anything else insane happens, I'll get to it in another video. I'll just leave you now with the most recent 3-lap world record at the time of rendering out this video, a 26.78 by Jonesy, and there's the story of the recent strategy discovery and subsequent world record set on Toad's Turnpike in Mario Kart 64. It's only a matter of time before we start seeing some of these techniques used in all Cups runs and beyonds, so the story never ends. but I hope you at least got caught up on what's been going on, and we'll look forward to see what happens next in the next chapter of Mario Kart 64 Speed Gaming. Thanks for watching, stay true, and I'll see you in the next stream or video.